How's it going, everyone? Thanks for tuning in to Dinoco Blue. Today we will be doing a full ranking of every single Cars Diecast new release for 2024. We are close to 2025, the calendar year, and the main line. We've already seen Case P hit targets with Ernie Garrison, which is a great sign. I hope more of that continues and we don't get too many droughts next year like we unfortunately suffered through this year. And just some disclaimers before we start. There's one exception that isn't on this list, and that is the Taco Man crew chief. He's not on this list because I don't have him in person, so I don't want to unfairly judge him based on online pictures. I want to have the real deal in my personal possession to give a fair ranking on that one, so he's excluded from this list. And also some disclaimers, stuff like NASCAR Danny and Easter Flo, I have chose to include because I count them as 2024 releases. I know people might debate that and whatnot, but I think both are 2024 releases because both did come out in the calendar year of 2024. So there's 40 cars to get through, which is a nice even number. That's good. We'll get right into it. We're going to start off from obviously number 40, going to the best release of the year, in my opinion. There might be some controversial ones. Feel free to let me know yours in the comments, but let's get started. So starting off number 40 and number 39, I'm going to do these two collectively because they have a theme to them. They're both Glow Racers. Number 40, Glow Racers Dan Garcia. Number 39, Glow Racers Ryan Inside Laney. I'm not going to hide it. I don't like the Glow Racers at all. I think they absolutely fumbled this line. They take way too long to produce some in a certain frame of time. I know Glow Racers Storm and Ramon are out and about. You might also count them as 2024. I personally am going to classify them as 2025 because we know that they're redoing the Glow Racers 4-pack at Targets with updated 2025 packaging. So assuming the line's going to continue in 2025, which is very unfortunate. I'm not a fan of them at all. Dan barely glows, and Ryan glows well, but they don't change the designs up well enough, in my opinion. It's well overstayed its welcome. I don't really want anything to do with them, and they're so bad. I didn't even pick them up when I first saw them. It took me a couple times to finally just cave in, and I still haven't opened a single Glow Racer. I don't like that line. I want it to be killed off as soon as possible. It's enough, Mattel. Please end it after Ramon and Storm. So number 38, we have Roadette Marker. Now, she's a clown, which is one of the main reasons why she's below there, but just because I don't like the expression. They really fumbled the expression, in my opinion. It looks really bad. It doesn't suit the character if you saw her in the episode. And I just am not a huge fan of the clowns. You guys know that probably, and a lot of people share the same sentiment. I just think that they've also overstayed their welcome. They've become too prominent on store shelves. They've just been too present, in my opinion. It's almost like I wish that they had a better place, like very low down the ranks. They're too high down the ranks, too up the ranks, my bad, in Mattel's priorities recently. I hope 2025 changes that. But yeah, Roadette Marker, I guess in terms of the mainline, this is my declared worst mainline release of the year. Coming in at number 37-36 are the two Pities that came in the UFO set. Now, also disclaimer, you will see the UFO later on in this list. I will explain when I get to it why it's included. But for now, we have the two Pities that came in the set. I am specifically going to put Nicole Revwell, the green and yellow one, above Jesse Whalen because at least that one is a really nice model. And I just put them down here because they are two blank Pities at the end of the day. I think in terms of the whole mechanism with them and the UFO, they really fumbled that because you can't really get them to stay on all four wheels and the UFO scrapes on the ground. They could have put their prongs a little higher so at least the UFO gets lifted. I just think it's a cool concept. I know what they were going for, but they kind of fumbled it, unfortunately. And at the end of the day, they are just two blank Pities that also, they did add little like scruffs to them. They try to do like dirt detailing. I'm not a huge fan of them. It just makes it look like chips or anything. Wasn't too necessary. And yeah, at the end of the day, they are just two blank Pities. There's nothing all that crazy about them. Next up, we have Van Campbell, who is the other clown they released this year. So as you notice, both of the clown cars near the bottom of the list. I've said it once and I'll say it again. I don't like the clown cars. The one thing that keeps Van Campbell at least above the two pitties from the set is that he is a cool model. He is an Opel Corsa. He looks off to the side. It's a good expression, but also he's not consistent with the other clowns with this paint design, being the blimp and the pitty that they did in 2023. So there's really not much else for me to say. I don't really like the clowns. Next up, we're going to go with a couple of NASCAR releases for the year. So we will go with Gogo Logano, and then Danny Swervez, and then Bubba Wheelhouse as number 35, 34, and 33, I believe. So Gogo Logano, I did not like his metallic release that much, that I actually prefer the original one because it's a better contrast to especially the Sidewall Shine one. I just thought they were too similar. It didn't really fit, in my opinion, and it was just kind of like, at the end of the day, like a nothing release. I think the entire line, besides the McQueen, was just kind of like whatever type of releases. Like, I guess it's cool they updated them, but I don't really think anyone necessarily asked for them, which is why 3 of them here find themselves so low on the list. Danny is a nice color. I do think he's a little too similar to the original one, and it is a nice color. I just, at the end of the day, they literally are just updated with shinier paint from the previous releases. And we have Bubble Wheelhouse for Transberry Juice. I also think the color is nice. It looks a little different to the original than Danny does. That's why he goes a little higher. But yeah, I just wasn't like the hugest fan. They definitely overstayed their welcome at Walmart's, although a couple of them are going to find themselves slightly higher than some of the mainline releases, because the next one isn't going to be one of these NASCAR releases here. So next up on the list, we have Jessica Carville. Now, Jessica Carville, unnecessary release to do, had a ton of speaking lines. I understand that, although I think Mattel went way too crazy with the dirt detailing on her. And overall, I just kind of wish she had a better accessory than a cone to put with her. The clipboard thing is pretty nice. It's nice to see a pink car. You don't often see pink releases like that. But overall, I just kind of think it's mostly the dirt detailing that puts this one down quite a few positions for me. But it's a necessary release. I still like Jessica. She's very necessary to get, in my opinion. Next up, we have Justin Roadritter, the Broadside repaint, reskin, and disclaimer, I am not counting both expression variants, and it's just because Mattel did not label them as different variants in their main line. They both say Justin Roadritter. It's not like the one in the 2-pack says Justin Roadritter or something like that. They both say Justin Roadritter. They are just expression variants of the same release label. So I'm only counting it as one. I'm not counting them as separate. So that's another disclaimer. I just not a big fan of how they made the back plastic. It makes him feel a little too light for my liking. He's a cool release. I love the movie moment feel of it with him and Ken, which we'll get to. But yeah, overall, it's just a plastic back, and it is a direct reskin from Broadside, unlike Jason Roque, who is different from Fishtail, and we will also get to him later on in this list. Next, we're going to another NASCAR release. It is the Shifty Drug Next Gen William Byrev. This one is probably one of the bigger improvements because the original one was very bad in my opinion. I didn't like the matte finish they gave it. This one made it a little shinier. I do wish it popped out a little bit more, but it definitely is an improvement from the previous one, probably more so than the other 3 I mentioned. So that's why William Byrev here is a little more on the list. Next, we have Byron Crashforth. Now, I'll be real with you guys. When I saw him on the poster, he was probably one of my least interesting new releases that were leaked from the poster and wasn't known about prior to that. I probably just have a lot of Niles Speedcone PTSD, getting tired of seeing him on store shelves and whatnot, but I will say he is a unique model. You can give him that. He opens the door for custom potential with this exact length of this car. Although I also don't like how he's a plain blue one, because we already have Mark Sontheimer, who's another plain blue one. I just don't really like the lack of color variety there. I think there was better options to choose from the episode, but because it is a unique model, I will give it that, and that's probably the most I'm willing to give it. Overall, this is just kind of like a cool release, nothing crazy about it. It's just, it is what it is. We have it, cool, move on. Next, we have NASCAR Ryan Inside Laney. Now, I really love the metallic orange, like a very burnt orange feel to it. And obviously, the expression is amazing looking off to the side, even though the original one had that anyways. But yeah, he goes up on the list just for how the orange looks. It's not often you get metallic orange. Probably the only other example is Snot Rod. So that's why he finds himself a little higher on this list than the others. Next, we're going to go to Tractor Ghost. Now, tractors are always super popular. It's always nice to get a new tractor. I have to take into consideration at the end of the day that this is just a plain green tractor, which makes sense. I'm not expecting anything else, but the expression is nice. I also will give it that directly from the episode looking off to the side there, although I kind of wish the mouth was closed. Then it could be perfectly accurate to the scene. But yeah, tractors super popular. I love tractors, although the Tractor Ghost probably going to be one of my least favorite tractors, which isn't anything against it, just because obviously other tractors are a lot more detailed. But yeah, Tractor Ghost was a cool release. It was a fun release. I expected Mattel to do that one. So it's a solid release in my opinion, just not good enough to get higher than some of these other ones. Next, we're going to go with the UFO. Now, I did tease this. I do have the UFO in my ranking. Why, you may ask? Well, Mattel did label it on the packaging. So I kind of take that into consideration as its own release. If they didn't put it on the packaging, you can just count it as an accessory. And I think it's like half accessory, half like actual release. It's just because they labeled it on the packaging as a movie prop, I am counting it in this list. So that's why it gets a spot. Now, the UFO, highly anticipated, super gassed up, super hyped up. Because it is fully plastic, it won't go higher than what I have it on this list right now. And that's fine, in my personal opinion. There's nothing against that. I'm not putting a plastic thing any more higher than what I have now. But at the same time, this is one of the coolest accessories, if you want to call it that, Mattel has ever released. It's a very nice one, for sure. And this looks so good on display. I love the UFO prop. The whole construction of that and the pity is just kind of fun with the bag. But the UFO in isolation, massive fan. I'm just not putting it any higher because I'm not putting just plastic any higher than that. End of story. Next, we have the final NASCAR release until we get to McQueen later on. That's the Sidewall Shine Next Gen, which I am blanking on the name right now, so forgive me. I think it's Karsten Dillon. I could be wrong. But this one, I think, is one of the best improvements. The red wheels look so sexy on it. It really pops. The yellow turning into a gold absolutely cooks with the design. This one actually feels like you can plop it into the Karsten Next Gen fleet and it would blend in super well. I'm a big fan of it. And there's really not much more I can say. It's a beautiful look, and it's quite the improvement, in my opinion, from the previous version. Now, besides McQueen, every single NASCAR release, as you can already tell, is behind every single GRC release. But we are about to get into some GRCs. Starting with GRC Miguel Camino. He is my least favorite GRC of the year because I think they changed him up the least. And I just kind of wish he popped out more. But still, it's super nice to get variants again of the World Grand Prix racers. I don't think he's horrible. I just think he's the worst of the GRCs on a personal level. So that's why you find him down here. And we have two more GRCs right next to him in the list. Those will be GRC Storm and GRC Francesco right before him. Now, disclaimer, we're just getting to a bunch of releases that I don't hate. You might look at some of these releases, see them a little low, like, oh my god, what's wrong with them? There's some solid releases of the year, okay? I can't put them all up in the top 15, you know? But I will say a good chunk of them really bad, in my opinion. We've already gone through, like, the worst of the worst anyways. So, back to GRC Storm and Francesco. I do like them. I just don't like them as much as the other GRCs. And also, you have to compare it to how different they are to previous iterations of their characters. Storm, his inclusion in general is a big question mark, of course, but I do think the black and the blue blends really well. The expression is nice, although they're just about to reuse that expression for the Glow Racers one, so it's going to lose some of its spice. Yeah, it's a nice one. And then GRC Francesco, it's a completely new design with the red, then the white, then the green. I just not a huge fan of how much of the front of him is just this plain red. Not a huge fan of that, but the fact that he does have a completely new layout and design versus Storm and Miguel puts him up in higher positions than them. Next up, we're going to go to a on-the-road character in Ken and Dinoco. Now, this one might be a sleeper release, I'm not going to lie. It is so cool with all the accessories on it and the little taser thing. The fact that we got it in a 2-pack only, it makes it very nice, although I'm not trying to judge how they got released and their availability-wise. But it's so cool. The expression, the little weapon from Justin on the windshield, all blends itself to create a very nice car. And this is the only electric satellite-esque car we have from the Road Rumbers episode. The other ones we have are from the Road Rumbers clan, not the electric satellite clan, if you will. So she's the one and only for now. Next, we're going to another GRC in GRC Carla Veloso. This one, honestly, I really love how the colors pop on this one. Like the blue, green, and yellow, such a good blend. It's very like heritage for Carla to just pop with so many colors, being a very colorful car. And I think this one is probably the most underrated GRC. I really love how they pulled this one off. I think it might get a little too much slack, but overall, it's a very nice release. And that's all I really got to say about it. It gets the job done. Next, we have Margaret Motay. Now, you guys might be a little surprised how low this one is on the list. And it is for one main reason. The expression is horrible. I don't know what Mattel was thinking with that expression. I don't like it. It doesn't fit the character at all from the episode. I just don't know what they were going for. It looks so weird. It looks very much like, you know, makes her, look like a wimp. I don't really get it. Although all the accessories are really cool. I love the matte finish it has with the antennas and the roof lights. It all blends itself well to create a good release, and I'm so happy we got Margaret Motay finally after getting Griswold nearly a year and a half before that. But it's just because of the expression. I think they really fumbled this one because it had the potential to be like a top 10 release of the year, but I'm not gonna let them slide with that expression. I'm sorry. Next up, we have Deputy McQueen with Slime. This one might be a little high on the list for some people. They maybe didn't expect this. I'm just someone who really loves McQueens with like textured stuff on top of the car. So you have Nature Drive McQueen, Muddy McQueen, Cupcake McQueen. They all are super good. I've always liked those type of releases. And I really love the slime texture, how it fits under the light bar. Also, they changed the expression, not in the mouth, but in the eyes. It's still a different expression. And I just think I love the translucency of the slime, how it's very see-through and it fills a lot of the car. This might be another one of those sleeper releases of the year, in my opinion. Next, we're going to go through 3 GRCs who find themselves very close to the top 10. And let me confirm to you guys, we have 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16. So this is 16, 15, and 14 respectfully. Number 16, GRC Shu. Number 15, GRC Max Chanel. And number 14, GRC Cruz Ramirez. So 3 GRCs in a row here. These are like the second tier of GRCs in my opinion. I really love how all of these ones turned out. Shu's expression is incredible in my opinion. It really puts this one higher up. They did change some of the dragon designs. They added a few things. I do wish that maybe like the grayness in the back started a little sooner, but I think the design is very well done. It blends well, and I just think it fits Shu as a character. I love the expression. It's awesome. And yeah, a very nice GRC in my personal opinion. I've seen a lot of hate for GRC Max Chanel, a lot of criticisms about the color and whatnot. And I'll be honest, I probably do wish he was on the purple spectrum, but I have to appreciate the fact that Mattel actually drastically changed it to this like gray, silver, gunmetal-esque design. Makes him stand out so much from the regular one, and he is a lot different from the carbon racer version than you might think at first glance. So I honestly think he's probably the most underrated GRC. Next we have the final GRC they did, which is GRC Cruz. This one absolutely cooked. I love how the black hood is so similar to McQueen's. They go and match together very well. Yes, it's weird that Cruz and Storm is in this line. I would have preferred the other World Grand Prix racers if I had to choose, but we have to deal with what we have, of course. And GRC Cruz, I think, they absolutely cooked with the design. I love some of the carbon detailing, the black, the blue, the white, and the yellow. They all just blend itself super well. And this is the GRC I probably was the most impressed by. I did not think I would like Cruz as much as I do. Number 13, we're going to go for Barney Cones here, who might be one of the best releases of the year. I know I don't have him in my top 10, but if you did, I wouldn't blame you. There's just some other things I think deserve some credit for getting released. But Barney Cones, fully metal in the back. That's honestly why he's so high up on this list. He's a very nice car, and he opens the door, of course, for customs such as the Thunder Hollow announcer, which I have done, and you might see that in the future, maybe. But yeah, Barney Cones, fully metal casting. It's nice to get a real life truck model in the Cars line. And yeah, just a very necessary character with a bunch of speaking lines. I really like Barney Cones. It's a great release, and it's nice that it's coming back for 2025, of course. Next, we're going to go to number 12. This might be my biggest sleeper release of the year. That is Jason Roadkey here. Now, I was so impressed with how they did change the model from Fishtail. He is more straightened out. He's not the same. He's a unique model. I love the little mohawk thing on the top and how sturdy it is. Obviously, it's plastic, but if you did a step on that, you might be taking a trip to the hospital still. And I really appreciate that detailing. A very nice, smooth finish. It almost feels like 2D drawn if you look at him from certain angles. He's such a cool car. I think Mattel absolutely cooked with this one, and in my opinion, is probably the biggest sleeper release of the year. This one is incredible. Quite unfortunate, to be honest, to just miss out on the top 10, and we are nearing there, trust me. So, next one up at number 12, we have President Mater. Now, President Mater, very highly anticipated release. One of my favorite upcoming releases going into the year. I do love the expression. It's nice to see Mater in like this dark blue. You don't often see that. I will take some points off for the fact that they, for some reason, gave him the extended working tow hook, because that's just a little weird to me. His tow hook, by the way, isn't like that in the movie. This is why I'm saying it. It is a lot more smaller and doesn't hang as low on the cables as this one does. But President Mater is a great release. Super glad to finally get it, and that's really much more I gotta say about it. It's perfect. I really like it. If you don't pay attention to the hook and you just see it from the front, which is how you see it on display anyways probably, it gets the job done. Really like President Mater. Now, this is the release that just missed out on the top 10. At number 11, we have the second best GRC in my personal opinion, and that is GRC Raul Cerul. I don't know who at Mattel designed this, but whoever did deserves so much credit. It blends so beautifully. I love the design just kind of going across the top onto the hood. The expression's amazing. The white wheels are amazing contrast. Like, I love how this one actually took liberties to change the design from the original version. And the dark blue, it all looks incredible on this Raul. Such a big fan of this release. I think they absolutely cooked with the design. Easily the second best GRC after you know who I haven't mentioned yet. Now this is big time. We are going into the top 10. So let's start off at number 10. This is one I actually just got recently. It's Logan Gearsall, who is kicking off our top 10, and it is strictly because this is one of the best models I think Mattel has produced in a very long time. It's a very wide Model T, such a good model to get in the line. I appreciate how it isn't the same as Lizzie, has a great expression, and this just opens the door as well for a bunch of customs, but I just appreciate the girthiness of this car. I honestly didn't expect it to be as wide as it is, but it's a pretty girthy car, and yeah, I wouldn't expect to put a Ghost so high, but Logan Gearsall, Ghost or not, absolutely incredible release, and 100% deserves to be in the top 10. Number 9, we have Tony Motorfelt. Now, this release probably is the one that shocked me the most. I didn't think I'd like him as much as I did because he looked so similar to Roscoe in the episode. I wasn't really expecting too much. Obviously, like that we're getting him. He's a necessary character, but I did not think he'd be as different to Roscoe as he turned out to be. I really love the coloring on him. It's a great expression. The canopy in the back is metal with the window part, so he puts more metal on him on top of having the metal back portion. And such a cool car. And nice that we got him, considering Roscoe used to be a deluxe and we just got him as a single. That's incredible and such a good release in my opinion. Very nice girthy car. So next up at number 8, we're going with Cave Mater. Now Cave Mater, I love how they pulled this one off. The top part is, there's a crack separating the top part from the rest, but it's still metal. I really appreciate that. I just love the look of the vines, the little rock hook in the back, the rock tires. Like, it all looks so well. They think they really did a great job blending a lot of things with this release. It gets the job done. I think it's better than Cave McQueen, but it's very nice. And I love how when you roll it, it's very squeaky as well. It kind of just makes it feel like rock tires, like they should be. And I love the just finish on it. It's a very great release. Well done, Mattel. 10 out of 10. Next up at number 7, you guys might not even be thinking this one would be on the list, but we're going with Easter Flow. Now, yes, I will admit a lot of this is because I am very biased to the fact that they did something very nostalgic in a sense, going back to something from the 2010s and producing something from the Easter Buggy book, getting a new holiday car in flow at that. The expression looking off to the side, though, does give it a lot of pointers. I just love that we actually got a new flow variant. That's so cool to me. And I'm just a huge sucker for towny variants in general. That's why flow is super high up on this list. At number 7, couldn't crack the top 5, but was definitely always going to be in my top 10. Great release because she really feels like a conclusion to all of the Easter themed releases from that book. At number 6, we're going to go with the Cruz Ramirez Hauler. Now, this one, you guys might be a little bit shocked, is a little high. I just really appreciate the fact that we even got a new hauler, and it is a new hauler mold from previous haulers, other next-gen haulers. It's a new mold. That's awesome. I know it's not canon to Cars 3, but it is canon to the aftermath of Cars 3, because clearly in Cars on the Road, Mac is no longer associated as Cruz's hauler, clearly. So this only makes sense to exist sometime in the Cars universe, just not what we ever see on screen. But it's such a cool release. It is an uncancellation, of course. And yeah, it's nice to actually just get a new hauler. The fact that it is a hauler, it's a unique model, it always deserved its credit, in my personal opinion, as long as it's canon. And to me, it can count as canon, unlike Marty Hauler. Anyway, now we're getting into the top 5. At number 5, this, in my opinion, is probably the most underrated release of the year, as much as people do gas it up. But I say underrated in the sense that this is in my top 5. Number 5, we're going with Space Creature Lightning McQueen. The fact that this is basically a 2-in-1 release is incredible. I love how you get a Cryptid Buster McQueen without the gear underneath with a unique expression. The cloak is very nice. Obviously, it's plastic, but I just love the little ripples in it to actually look realistic, and it's so cool. And I know it's from the episode, but it almost feels like you can use this as like a holiday-themed release. It's really nice seeing this actually produced, and the fact that they basically did a 2-in-1 deserves a lot of credit, in my opinion. And this gives off so much vibes to Cupcake McQueen, of course. So Space Creature McQueen, fantastic release. Definitely, in my opinion, a top 10. For me personally, the top 5, but in my opinion, it should be a lot more in people's top 10s. Number 4, we're going with NASCAR Lightning McQueen. They absolutely cooked with the McQueen designs from both NASCAR and GRC this year. I love the fact that they used Willie's Butte as a lightning bolt. That is so clever, in my opinion. The red looks amazing. It's a good expression. I did not think at first glance when I saw this pictures online it looked all that good. I completely misjudged it. I will hold my hands up. This design is absolutely incredible. I love it, and it would be so cool to see this in media one day. I wish it kind of was in media and not just a NASCAR line, because this is a paint job that deserves to actually be seen on a big screen, you know? At number 3, we're going with Chris Freightman. This is a phenomenal release. 10 out of 10 release of the year. The only thing that's holding it back from being higher than number 3 is the fact that this was intended as a trucks release and not a Cars 3 release. But the model is incredible. I personally took liberties to add the race, fire, and rescue decals because I count this as a Cars 3 release. I don't have nothing for trucks because I don't like that episode. That's my opinion. If you have another one, so be it. But my personal opinion, I don't like the trucks episode. I did the same thing with Adam Rodriguez. I put him in my Cars 2 display. That's exactly what I did with Chris Freightman. So outside of that whole kerfuffle where he's blank, right? If you just think of him as a Cars 2 release, which I think is a lot better to do. He's an absolutely incredible release. I love the contraption in the back. This is an incredible release. 100% deserves to be a top 3 in my opinion, and is my favorite new character of the year because the final 2 are character variants. So at number 2, you guys might know who number 1 is after I say this. Number 2, we are going to go with GRC Lightning McQueen. This design is incredible. The more I look at it, the more I can't even see a nitpick about it that I would have a problem with. I think they cooked with everything, to the lightning bolt going over the top, to the little asymmetrical on both sides, the blue and the white, the expression, using the World Grand Prix model, the fact that the window bars in the back are differently colored because of where the lightning bolt goes over it, the transition to a very dark maroon red to the back. It looks incredible, guys. This is a top 10 S-tier release, if you will, of the year. Absolutely incredible. I can't think of a single thing that they did wrong with this release. Huge props to Mattel. This is honestly one of the best McQueen paint jobs I've ever seen. It might be a top 10 of all time, and I seriously mean that. They absolutely cooked with this design. I'm a massive fan of it and deserves nothing more than to get all the praise in the world, especially being in my top 3. But we are going to head to number 1 of the year. And this is mainly because it's Ramon, guys. It's on the road, Ramon. Ramon's cook. This paint job is sexy. It's so good. It doesn't even feel like an on-the-road release. It doesn't feel like it deserves to be in that category because on the road tends to be very goofy and wacky and whatnot. This feels like a perfectly normal design you would have seen in Cars 1 even. It is so good. I love the purples to call back to the original purple Ramon design. And it's such a cool release. I'm so glad we finally got it, of course. Ramones are always amazing in my opinion, besides the Glow Racer one. But Ramones always cook in my opinion. This one is incredible. And this one, in my opinion, is just a nice capsulation for 2024. This, in my opinion, is my declared best release of 2024. So good that I don't even think it deserves to be a 2024 release. This deserves to be released in a proper year, an actual good year. Because breaking news to you guys, I was not a big fan of 2024. I don't like the year. I'm so glad to move on to 2025. Although 2025 is also looking very, very poor in terms of new releases. But re-releases, strap in, because we're all gonna feast with those re-releases. But anyway, guys, that's pretty much gonna be it for this video. This honestly was really cool going through every single release. Of course, Talkman Crew Chief wasn't in here, but I wanted to be fair about it and just do the releases I have in my personal possession. But that's just going to be it for this video. Let me know what your guys' ranking is. Let me know your thoughts about some of the rankings I put certain cars. But that is my entire ranking for this, quite frankly, very below average year for cars collecting, in my personal opinion. Thank you guys so much for watching. I really hope we get some movie stuff next year. And I will see you guys in the next video, whenever that will be. Peace.